Hey guys, how are all of you beautiful people doing? Hope all of you are doing fine, and yes, this is the another amazing video of Reincarnated in Naruto. So without any delay, let's start the story. Haku and I rushed to the hospital when we heard that Tsunade was finally back in Konoha. We almost bumped into Naruto at that moment when we reached the hospital entrance. Whoa! Haku, Naruto, and I exclaimed as we immediately stopped ourselves just before colliding. Naruto. Huff. You guys. Huff. Are back. Haku and I said as we were catching our breath. Hey. Haku. Izaya. What are you guys doing here, Datbeo? Naruto asked, confused. Tsunade and Shippuden just stood there watching the three of us amused. Right, you didn't know, but Kimimaro is also sick. We heard that Lady Tsunade is back and we were wondering if she was going to stop by the hospital. I responded. Haku and I then turned to face Tsunade and respectfully said, "We greet Lady Tsunade." Oh. MN. I like you two kids. Very respectful, unlike some other brat that I know of. She said. Hey. I don't care about that right now. You said you would treat Kakashi-sensei and Sasuke. Let's go, Datbeo. Naruto remarked. Ha! Tsunade just let out a sigh and shook her head. She then looked at Haku and I then said, "So you two must be the kids that old man Sarutobi-sensei mentioned to me about earlier. You must be pretty skillful if that old man decided to take you on as disciples." Ah! Naruto exclaimed when he heard this. Wait. So you two are training under Lord Third? He asked. Haku and I nodded as I said, "It's not just Haku and I but Kimimaro as well." Eh? Naruto exclaimed again. Shippuden then cut in and said, "All right, Lady Tsunade, we should go check out how everyone is doing." Ah. Yeah, we can't waste any more time, Datbeo. Naruto said as he walked into the hospital alongside Haku and I. Tsunade just followed suit as we first stopped by Sasuke's room. As we all squeezed into that room, we all noticed Sakura sitting beside Sasuke's bed. So, in the end, Sasuke ended up fighting Itachi and Itachi still placed him under his genjutsu. I mentally thought to myself. I also gave an inward sigh at the tragedy of Itachi and also thought about my past. In this life I had really wanted to try and save Itachi, but I don't know if that's actually possible. He's already dying of an illness and I doubt he'd want to be saved after what he did. In my past life, after everything that I did on orders, even though I died at my own hands doing everything I could for my missions, thinking about what would be best for the world, I guess I wouldn't want to be saved either. Now I have a second chance at life and can start over. Itachi doesn't have that. Sasuke woke up after Tsunade finished healing him. I saw the look of dejection in his eyes and knew that he would try to seek more power through Orochimaru. Well, even if Orochimaru still has both uses of his arms, I doubt he'd be able to take over Sasuke's body. Most likely he'll learn to wield the power of the curse mark instead, and Orochimaru's weapon to take over his body would instead become Sasuke's weapon to absorb Orochimaru. As Sakura and Sasuke were having their little moment, we went to Kakashi's room. She started berating Kakashi for getting beat after she healed him while Guy was nervously waiting behind the curtains. Naruto left after Kakashi was healed to go meet Iruka while we followed Tsunade as she went to check out Lee's wounds. She pondered as she looked at Lee's condition. Guy nervously and anxiously fidgeted on the side and finally couldn't help himself as he said, "Well. Lady Tsunade. How is he? Can you heal him?" She let out a sigh and then said, probably. A guy had a dumbfounded look before he finally breathed out a sigh of relief. Lee also breathed out a sigh of relief. Tsunade shook her head and said, "Don't celebrate yet." I said probably. That doesn't mean definitely. The thing is, Lee's injuries are incredibly dangerous. There are minute fractures around important parts of his nervous system. Originally I probably would have had a 50% chance at best to heal his injuries, but I can see that the fractures have begun healing themselves and the cells in your body are full of vigor and vitality in those areas when after an injury like yours they should have been greatly atrophied. I should have about a 65% chance of healing your injuries. What sort of technique did you practice to do this? A guy had a look of confusion but then said, It's because of youth. The springtime of youth has not left Lee. I facepalmed at Guy Sensei's uniqueness. Actually, it was a technique that Izaya taught me. He called it the 9 dragons breathing technique. By using this technique it has helped me revitalize the damaged area in my body. Lee said. Really? It's not because of the springtime of youth? Guy said curiously. Guy Sensei, I'm sure it was partly also because of the springtime of youth. Lee quickly added. Ha 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 ha. I knew it. Guy shouted. Tsunade, Shitsune, Haku, and I just shook our heads at their idiocy. Tsunade took a look at me and said, I've never heard of this technique before. You taught it to him? Yes. It is a technique I created myself called the Taijutsu Wushu style 9 dragons breathing technique. The short version is, basically one takes in the surrounding energy, assimilate it with your chakra, baptize your injured tissue with the extra energy, have it draw away the impurities, and finally you breathe out those impurities. I responded. Her eyes widened in shock for a split second before she closed her eyes and pondered for a second. I see. I can't believe a kid like you is able to come up with such a high-level technique like this. I understand now why Sarutobi-sensei would be interested in you brats. All right, Lee, I will return tomorrow evening to begin your treatment. If the treatment is successful then you should make a full recovery within a few weeks give or take. Yes. Lee and Guy said excitedly as tears ran down their faces. Tsunade just shook her head as we all walked out of the room heading over to Kimimro's room. Maro. Haku ran into Kimimro's room startling him. Haku. He said curiously. He turned to the door and saw Izaya standing there with 2 women. Izaya. Yo, Kimimro. This is Shitsune, and this is Lady Tsunade. Remember what Hiruzen-sensei said? Lady Tsunade is going to be the 5th Hokage and she's also the one who's going to help you recover. With a momentary surprised look, Kimimro, while still sitting on his bed, clasped his right fist in his left hand and said, I greet Lady Tsunade. My apologies, but I am told to remain in my bed so I'm unable to give a proper greeting. Ha ha ha. Are you 3 kids always this polite? It's okay to lighten up around me, you know. I'm not like that old geezer who's got a lecture and story with every word he says. Let me check on your condition. Tsunade said as she walked over and placed a hand on Kimimro's back. So you must also practice that 9 dragons breathing technique Izaya taught you. She commented. Yes. It has greatly helped alleviate my condition. Kimimro replied. Well, I heard about your special condition from that old man. Indeed, your body seems a bit special. You must have kept your taijutsu and ninjutsu usage to a minimal, which is good. And practicing that technique also seemed to help revitalize your body's cells. I'm sure I can treat you, however it'll be a long process. A few months at the least. I'll start the treatment right now, Tsunade said. Haku, Kimimaro, and I rejoiced at the good news. We all let out a sigh of relief. Oi, Haku, Izaya, you two kids don't need to be here. It's going to take a few hours. I doubt you both want to remain here that long. Kids like you should go out and play or something. She playfully remarked. She's right. You both can go do what you guys need to. I'll focus on my recovery. Kimimaro said. Amen. Haku and I nodded with smiles. We then bowed to Lady Tsunade to show our gratitude before leaving. You could learn some manners from them, Lady Tsunade. Shitsune said. Me. Ha 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 ha. Actually I think they could learn how to lighten up a bit from me, she said as she began treating Kimimaro. As Haku and I were just about to leave, I noticed Naruto and Sasuke were having an argument. Hey! Don't tell me they're actually going to fight this time as well. I turned to Haku and said, Haku, there's something that I want to check out first. You go on ahead, I'll meet up with you later. Hey! Okay big brother, then I'll head out first, Haku said curiously as he headed out the door. I stood just outside of Sasuke's hospital room when I heard him ask Naruto to fight him. Sigh. I shouldn't interfere with matters between Itachi and Sasuke yet, I said inwardly. Right as they were walking towards the door, I disappeared into the shadows and quickly made my way to the rooftop in a hidden location. I watched on as Naruto and Sasuke argued and fought as Sakura stood by and watched. I shook my head to myself. Even if Sakura has learned some taijutsu and genjutsu from me, she still isn't at the level to interfere in Naruto and Sasuke's fight yet. Oh! So many shadow clones as always. As expected of Naruto. Oh! Good taijutsu movements from Sasuke. Fireball jutsu. Well executed. Ah, there it is. Rasengan and Chidori. As I watched Naruto and Sasuke perform their signature techniques, the glint of the sunlight caught my eye in that moment and I suddenly had a burst of inspiration. Oh! Maybe this could work. I'll have to test out my theory later. At that moment I saw from the corner of my eye Kakashi-sensei, who successfully stopped Naruto and Sasuke's attack from colliding. He lectured Sasuke a bit before Sasuke left and Jiraiya ended up showing up as well. As they were talking, I decided to take this moment and leave. However, before I could take one step further, Kakashi said, "Oi, you in the shadows. You can come out." Ah! I inwardly exclaimed in surprise. So he knew I was here, eh? As expected of Kakashi-sensei. I walked out from the shadows and stood near Jiraiya, who gave me a curious look. Eh? Oh! Aren't you that kid who used that barrier technique to prevent the leaf from being damaged that day? Jiraiya asked rhetorically. Ah! So it was you in the shadows, Izaya. You didn't try to stop them? Kakashi asked suspiciously. I let out a sigh and then said, well, it is as you and Lord Jiraiya said earlier. You noticed the look in Sasuke's eyes, right? They were eyes filled with anger and resentment. The person he hates the most right now isn't Naruto, you, or even his brother Itachi. He hates himself the most right now for his lack of power. As for Naruto, he believes deeply in bonds. The only way they can resolve their inner turmoils are to fight it out with each other. Oh! You observed that much from their interaction just now. And you even know about Itachi. Kakashi said, surprised. Huh. No wonder Sarutobi-sensei is interested in you. You've got a keen insight. Jiraiya said, amused. I rubbed the back of my neck sheepishly and said, you praise me much. I'm not as impressive as you both think. As for attack, I've read plenty of history books from the library, so it's only natural I know a thing or two about him. Kakashi just stared at Izaya for a bit longer as he remembered the time when he witnessed Izaya activate the Flying Thunder God Jutsu, but made no further inquiries. Well, I need to get going. There are some things I have to do, Kakashi said and then dashed off. Then I should also get going. It was an honor to meet you, Lord Jiraiya. I bowed respectfully and said before dashing off as well. What an interesting kid. Jiraiya mumbled to himself. The next day everyone was gathered outside the town square in front of the Hokage's building as she was going to be enacted as the official 5th Hokage. Haku and I stood there looking up as we awaited for the ceremony to finish. Lord Third soon introduced Lady Tsunade as the 5th and the ceremony ended without incidents. Just as the crowd of people were walking out, someone ended up bumping into me. Ouch. I turned back to look. I'm sorry, she said apologetically. Isn't that Hyuga Hanabi? Hinata's younger sister, I pondered to myself. It's okay. Are you all right? It sounded like you got hurt, I replied. Not really, it was a reflexive expression, she said firmly. I took a good look at her as she stared back. It seemed like she was trying to see through my blindfold. I guess she was too focused that she wasn't aware she was making a funny-looking face. PFFFT. I laughed. Hey, what's so funny? She said. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to laugh, it's just that you looked so focused and you seemed a bit frustrated that you couldn't see through my blindfold, so you started puffing up your cheeks, I replied amusedly. She placed her hands on her cheeks and turned around. Forget that you saw that, she pouted. Neji walked over at this moment and said, Hanabi, are you bothering Izaya? Not on purpose, she said. Doesn't that mean you still are regardless? He said as he looked at Izaya apologetically. I just waved my hands and said, I don't mind. It was just an accident. MN. That's right, Hanabi said and turned back around. I gave her a light smile, pointed to my blindfold and teasingly said, don't worry, I'll make sure to be extra careful not to bump into anyone else. It's my fault. I'm the one with the blindfold after all. I then turned to walk away. Hey, Neji. Who is that? Hanabi asked curiously. That's Karasuma Izaya. He's 2 years older than you and 1 year younger than me. Are you curious about him? Neji replied as he looked down at Hanabi. I didn't ask you for his age, I asked you who that is. Geez. While I'll admit he has a nice smile and is a little handsome, I just thought he was a bit interesting, she said with a small blush. Wait, wasn't he one of the participants in the tune-in exams? Who's stronger between you and him? Why do you need to know that? Neji said. What, so you saying that he's stronger? She said teasingly. Neji paused for a moment before saying, yes. He then walked off, leaving a stunned Hanabi as she was shocked that her cousin had admitted someone was stronger than himself. She then ran over to catch up to Neji and started asking him more questions as they walked back to the clan. Night soon fell over the hidden leaf as I watched atop a roof at the battle currently taking place. Sasuke versus the Sound 4A. Doesn't look like it's going well for him, I mentally noted as I sipped a cup of sweet warm milk. In the end he lost heart. He'll probably leave later tonight with the Sound 4 guys. Well, I suppose I shouldn't interfere. Even if I interfere and Sasuke decides to stay in the village, it'll probably only be a momentary change of heart. He'll remember all the clansmen as well as his father and mother that died by Itakai's hands and seek out his revenge again. I know I would if I was ignorant of the situation and it happened to me. And if he doesn't seek revenge, then all of Itakai's plans would have been for naught. He wanted to die only by his brother's hands. It's like I told Haku and Kimimaro before. Everyone has a path they must walk down alone to better understand themselves and find their own ninja way. This is Sasuke's path. Eventually his path and Naruto's path will intersect and he'll hopefully see the light of day again. I wonder if our paths will intersect now as well. Guess I'll cross that bridge when I get there. The truth is, I need Sasuke to get stronger so I can plan for the future invasion of the Utsutsuki clan. What a pain. Ah, he left. I watched on as Sasuke and Sakura had their moment of intimacy before Sasuke walked out of the village. I took one more sip of my sweet warm milk before whispering to myself, now what to do if I'm asked to bring Sasuke back. I stretched my arms and legs as I stood by the main gate that led out of the village. I glanced to my right as Choji, Kiba, and Naruto were getting ready to head out. I then glanced to my left as Shikamaru and Neji were gearing up to head out as well. I inwardly sighed. So in the end Tsunade asked me to help out with Sasuke's return. I'm most surprised at the fact that Shikamaru was actually promoted to Chunin. He didn't even get the chance to fight in the main arena. I guess Lord Third was impressed enough with what he showed at the preliminaries. He probably highly values Shikamaru's mind and wanted him to become a Chunin sooner to help the village out with tasks. Looks like he and I are co-leading the team. So what's the plan? Neji asked as he looked to both Shikamaru and Izaya. I pointed to Shikamaru and said, I'm sure Shikamaru's got a plan. He'll be the brains of this operation, I'll provide support wherever is needed. I replied. TSK. This is a pain, but all right. Shikamaru said as he proceeded explaining the plan to everyone. A similar plan to my past life, eh? Well, this is the most effective for the team composition right now, whether this time or in my past. A straight line with everyone having their own roles to play. I mentally nodded in approval. We then shot towards the forest as we gave chase. It wasn't long before Kiba and Akamaru sniffed out a battle that recently occurred. What should we do? Do we stop and ask for more information or do we continue to pursue Sasuke? Kiba asked. As Shikamaru was contemplating, I said, no need to stop. I can sense their chakra signatures. They are Leaf Shinobi. Shitsune and Genma are two of them. 2 of the 4 are injured, but with Shitsune there they should be fine. Most likely they encountered the enemy and fought. In a time-sensitive mission we shouldn't waste time to gather little information that isn't guaranteed to help. That makes sense. We continue to pursue Sasuke. Shikamaru agreed. We traveled a bit longer when Kiba sensed a trap up ahead, prompting us to stop. A paper bomb perimeter barrier, huh? Neji said as he took a look around with his Bakugan. TSK. It's set to go off after a certain amount of time passes after we enter. Shikamaru said. That means we'll probably have to go the long way around. Neji commented. I shook my head and said, unnecessary. The fact that they placed one of the paper bomb barrier seals in an open place that's easy to see shows that they are in a hurry. A barrier trap of this level is easy for me to dispel. I placed my hands together quickly, forming the hand sign of snake, rat, snake, dog, and clapped my hands together saying, seal severing disruption jutsu. My hands glowed with red light as I placed it over the barrier trap seal, quickly destroying the seal. That was awesome, Datbeo. Naruto remarked. With this technique I've disrupted the connection between the other tags and this one, and also completely removed this sealing tag. They won't be able to activate this trap unless they come back to this spot and place another one down to reform the connection. Let's go. I explained quickly. Amen. Everyone nodded as we headed straight back to pursuing Sasuke. Even though I decided I should let Sasuke go pursue his own path, I should at least be a little helpful and act like I'm really trying to help, I mentally talked to myself. It wasn't long after that we caught up to the Sound 4. Choji remained behind to fight Jirobo, Neji remained to fight Kidomaru, and Kiba remained to fight Sakan and Yukon. That only left Teiya with the sealing jar which held Sasuke inside. Just as we were about to recover Sasuke in the sealing jar from Teiya, a giant brown and black spotted snake appeared and grabbed it before we could. What? Shikamaru, Naruto, and I shouted out loud in shock. Don't tell me, it's Orochimaru. I mentally thought. Is it because he didn't suffer from the Reaper death seal this time and he doesn't have Kimimaro as a subordinate? I mentally thought. TSK. Things don't look so good. Oi, Naruto, Izaya, you both go after that snake thing and get Sasuke. I'll stay here and hold off this person. Amen. We both assented and dashed off after the snake. It won't work. Orochimaru has come to retrieve Sasuke himself now, so it won't matter what you guys do. Teiya remarked. Che. This is way over my pay grade. Shikamaru complained. Just as we chased the snake to a clearing in the forest, it stopped and disappeared in a puff of smoke. Naruto and I stopped at the edge of the forest as we watched with caution as we heard a creepy voice speak from within the smoke. He, well, we meet again. Uzumaki Naruto, Izaya-kun. Shit. It really is Orochimaru. Now what? I can't just let Naruto fight him, he isn't ready for that, but I'm not sure I can take him on either. At that moment the jar puffed with smoke as Sasuke rose out of it. Oh. It looks like the process is complete. Orochimaru commented. Sasuke, everyone is worried about you, let's return to the village. Naruto said as he attempted to convince Sasuke to return. He, however, just dashed off into the forest. Ha. Sasuke won't return with you. He has an Avenger's heart and seeks power. Only I can give him the power he desires. Orochimaru said. He then looked at me while licking his lips and said, and you? You foiled my plans once already. I also desire a body like yours. Why not return with me? I can grant you as much power and knowledge as you want. TSK. What a troublesome guy. I said. He then turned to Naruto and said, as for you. The Akatsuki wants you, but it'd be troublesome for me as well if they obtained that thing inside you. This is a good chance to just kill you. Just as Naruto was about to rush over and attack, I pulled his arm back and said, Naruto, you aren't his match. He'll kill you if you jump in rashly. Go after Sasuke, I'll buy you some time. This guy is super dangerous, Izaya, we should beat him up together. Naruto replied. I simply shook my head, no, we'd never get to Sasuke in time like that. Lord Third fought him and didn't come out on top. Even if you and I go at him together, it won't change the outcome. Just go after Sasuke. I'm confident I can buy you time. Even if I can't beat him, I still have many ways to escape with my life, I replied. TSK. Naruto gritted his teeth and clenched his fist. Fine. You better promise to leave right away if the situation gets bad, Naruto said before dashing off. To his surprise, Orochimaru didn't try to stop Naruto. He just continued to glare at me with a look of anticipation. So, I wonder how much you've grown since we last fought, Orochimaru teasingly said. I walked out from the forest's edge and stood a fair distance away from Orochimaru. I took out my special kunai and got in a battle stance as I said, "Hey, you'll be surprised. I won't hold back this time." "Huh. I very much look forward to how much you've progressed," he retorted. We stared at each other for a few seconds as sparks flew in the air between our eyes. Then, in the next second, I dashed to the right just as a snake flew up from underneath the place where I was standing. I quickly threw my special kunai at Orochimaru and formed the hand signs of ox, hare, monkey and shouted, "Chidori." Lighting gathered in my palms as a loud noise resounded from the technique's activation, sounding like 1,000 chirping birds. Oh! Orochimaru raised his eyes in surprise as he quickly dodged to his right to avoid the kunai. Chidori ha! I didn't expect that Kakashi would also teach him this technique aside from Sasuke, he thought. He commanded his snake to attack me, but I was faster. Just as it opened its maw to swallow me, I dodged to the side and sliced with my Chidori, spitting its jaw open all the way down its body. Orochimaru took this chance to hold out his arm and said, striking Shadow Snake Jutsu. A bunch of snakes flew out from his arm seeking to bind me, however I quickly formed the hand sign of tiger, horse, tiger, snake and held out my arm saying, wood-style Great Forest Jutsu. A bunch of wood tendrils shot out from my arm as they collided with Orochimaru's snake tendrils. What? Orochimaru shouted in extreme shock. Not only Flying Thunder God Jutsu but also the wood-style Jutsu. How? He shouted mentally. I told you I wasn't holding back this time, I said as my wood tendrils held tightly onto his snake tendrils. I used my other hand to throw out a special kunai and with one hand I formed the signs of ox, dog, dragon, rat, dog, boar, snake, tiger saying, kunai shadow clone jutsu. My special kunai flew at Orochimaru with great speed, quickly turning from 1 to 20. Greatly alarmed, Orochimaru opened his mouth and out came another Orochimaru as he quickly slithered away, successfully dodging the barrage of kunai. I teleported to one of my special kunai that was thrown, giving me a straight line of sight at Orochimaru, and formed the signs of snake, ram, monkey, boar, horse, and tiger and shouted, fire-style flame bullet jutsu. A giant raging mix of fire and oil quickly engulfed his retreating form. Knowing that he probably escaped the attack in some weird way of his, I quickly picked up 5 special kunai from the ground and marked them with one of my netherized technique seals. I then quickly placed them in a circle measuring 3 feet in diameter and formed the dragon hand sign. Not a moment later Orochimaru appeared beneath me and struck out with his fist. However, I quickly moved backwards and grabbed his wrist, pulling him completely out of the ground. As I grabbed his wrist, I had also used that chance to mark him with the Flying Thunder God seal without his knowledge. He quickly disarmed my hold with his other hand and threw a fierce kick at my head, which I dodged with a backflip. Just as I landed on the ground, he opened his mouth to reveal the blade of the sword of Kusanagi. Right before he was about to rush at me with his mouth open and the blade sticking out, he instantly lost sight of me. "Ha!" he exclaimed loudly. At the next instant I was already by his side and placed my hand on his shoulder. Orochimaru widened his eyes with great shock. He must have marked me with his sealing formula during our earlier exchange of hand-to-hand combat, he quickly thought. Before Orochimaru could react, I activated my Flying Thunder God Jutsu once more, and without teleporting myself, I instantly teleported Orochimaru into the circle ring I created with my 5 special kunai earlier. The moment he was teleported inside of that ring, he was immediately bombarded by raging fire from all 5 sides. "Ah!" he shouted as the flames continued to bombard him without stopping. Each second increased in the intensity and power of the flames that scorched him for up to a total of 5 seconds. I smirked happily at my work and said, "Heh! How does that feel, Orochimaru? This is my own original technique. I call it the Fire Element Seal Punishing Array Jutsu. I've created special seals pertaining to each nature element and infuse my chakra into it. I placed my unique seal of fire on those 5 special kunai marked with my Flying Thunder God seal. Once I form the dragon hand sign, it activates the linking of all 5 fire element seals in that circle I made. The moment anything enters the circle, it will set off the trap due to disturbing the linkage of the 5 seals, and they automatically bombard everything inside the circle for 5 seconds. Each second increases the intensity and power of the technique. This is my own created A-rank combination of ninjutsu and fuinjutsu. Due to the special nature of the seals placed being linked to my Flying Thunder God seal, all of the attacks don't leave the circle as it gets automatically teleported back inside to bombard the one inside. The only way for the force to go is either up or down. I then scanned the area around me without letting down my guard, knowing that this guy was harder to kill than probably even Uchiha Madara himself. I quickly sensed his presence a few tens of meters away from me. I turned and sneered at him. He had some weird sticky fluid dripping off of him. He probably did some weird snake substitution jutsu or something like that to escape my technique. I also have to be careful about my chakra usage. I've gotten better at teleporting others thanks to Lord Third giving me the notes of Lord Second and Lord Fourth, but I still haven't completely mastered it yet. Since he shed his body with the mark, he isn't marked on that new body of his yet, so I can't fly to him. He. Ha 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 ha. Incredible. Simply incredible. Your power is formidable. I really want your body. Wood style, ha. I wonder how you were able to come by this technique. Has Sarutobi-sensei been doing experiments on his own without telling me? He. Your technique just now, it was quite powerful. If it was anyone else, then perhaps you would have succeeded in killing them. Orochimaru said with great maniacal enthusiasm. I just sighed inwardly. Although I know he'd be useful later, why does he have to be such a creep? And why does he have so many weird life-saving jutsu? I mean seriously, how many times can he even use that jutsu? Just as Orochimaru and I were about to re-engage in our battle, we both felt a surge of chakra and a loud rumble. We both paused as we turned to the direction of the source. So, it appears that their battle has ended, we both thought at the same time. He. Well, it looks like we will have to continue this another time. It's unfortunate, but I must secure that boy Sasuke. Until we meet again, Izaya-kun. Orochimaru said as he slowly disappeared in the ground. Phew. I let out a sigh. That was rough. Honestly, it's just a waste of chakra to even try fighting that guy. He just won't die. I looked to the sky as it clouded over and started to rain. At that moment Haku jumped out from the forest and stopped before me. "Big brother. Are you all right?" "Eh? Haku. What are you doing here?" I asked, surprised. I then turned to look towards the forest as Kiba, Neji, Choji, and Shikamaru also ran out of the forest. "I was sent as backup by Lady Tsunade," Haku replied. "Oi, did you do that?" Shikamaru said as he looked at the scorched areas of the battlefield and the large snake corpse nearby. I shrugged my shoulders and said, "Doesn't matter, Orochimaru got away. He's not an easy person to deal with." "Ah. Not an easy person to deal with. Should you be saying that? The fact that you're alive and can do this much damage against that guy is surprising already." "Oh, where's Naruto?" Shikamaru asked. "Ah. He went after Sasuke while I held Orochimaru off. I'll go get him," I said quickly. "Eh?" Before anyone else could say something, I disappeared from my spot. What? Where did he go?" Kiba asked in shock. "Oh, Big Brother went to get Naruto. You don't need to think about it too much," Haku replied. Everyone else just stared at Haku dumbfoundedly as they all thought the same thing. "We can't help but think about it. That guy's strength is too abnormal." I soon appeared next to Naruto after activating my Flying Thunder God Jutsu. It's a good thing I marked his sleeve when I pulled him back earlier. Looks like Sasuke left already. I can't sense his presence nearby. I picked the unconscious Naruto up and activated the Flying Thunder God once more, appearing next to Haku. "Eee!" Everyone but Haku exclaimed. "No questions please. Let's just go back to the village. Naruto needs to rest and get treatment," I said. "Ahem. Sounds like a plan," Shikamaru said. "I guess we failed the mission," Neji commented. "It can't be helped. Orochimaru interfered. That's someone we can't handle. It was only to be expected after that," Shikamaru replied as we dashed off back to the village. I guess Tsunade didn't call in help from the Sand Village like in my past life, since we had Haku after all. I silently thought to myself as we continued running through the forest. Back at the place where Sasuke and Naruto fought, a strange-looking creature with one side half black and the other half white in the attire of an Akatsuki member stood on the cliff. It was Zetsu as he had watched the battle from above. "Things seem to be getting a bit interesting," he said. Tap. 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 "Say that again," Tsunade said as she tapped her fingers on her desk. Shikamaru and I just looked at each other as we both had the same thought. What a pain. We've told her 3 times already what the situation was. As co-joint captains of the group that set out to bring Sasuke back, we had to report on the details of what happened. She seemed to accept everything we said until she heard my report on Orochimaru. I cleared my throat as I once again was about to go over the details of my encounter with Orochimaru. Ahem. Orochimaru interfered in our mission. They did something to Sasuke which allowed him to assimilate the power of the curse mark. Sasuke ran off as Naruto chased him. I remained behind to stall Orochimaru. After he and I fought, we felt a powerful discharge of chakra, which was probably Sasuke and Naruto's doing. He left soon after and I went to the site of their battle. I recovered Naruto and we returned here to Konoha. Damn that Orochimaru. Tsunade cursed. She rubbed the temples of her forehead and said, "All right. As you both were appointed captains for this mission, you both are held responsible for what happens on the mission. While the mission failed, I suppose it can't be helped this time. I didn't expect Orochimaru to return near the borders of Konoha so soon after what he pulled. No one was majorly hurt this time, remarkably. Only Naruto sustained some heavy injuries and is in recovery. I'm actually most impressed that you didn't sustain any injuries, Izaya. You fought Orochimaru. I seriously wonder how you pulled that off, but good job. You are dismissed. Yes. Shikamaru and I bowed respectfully as we walked out the door. Man, that was a pain. Shikamaru said. Well, it can't be helped. This did concern Orochimaru after all. I replied as we both left the Hokage's office. As we continued to walk down the same road, Shikamaru turned to me and said, "You going to the same place I'm going?" "I'm going to the hospital to visit Naruto." "If that's where you're going, then yes, I would be going to the same place you are," I replied. "Ha ha ha, I guess so. Hey, I want to thank you for your support on the mission. If it was just me alone as the team lead, things would have turned out a lot worse," Shikamaru said as we finally entered the hospital. I shook my head and said, "Truth is, we're just lucky. If Orochimaru had decided to stick around and fight me for real, I might have been incapacitated. That guy is truly hard to kill. You should also have a bit more faith in your own leadership skills." We opened the door to Naruto's room to find that he was already awake, albeit wrapped up like a mummy. "Yo, Naruto," Shikamaru said. "Oh. Shikamaru. Izaya. What are you guys doing here?" Naruto replied. "To visit you. How are you holding up?" Shikamaru asked. Better. I should be good to go in a week, maybe sooner, Datbeo," he replied. It does seem that way," I said. Sakura and Tsunade came to visit him soon after, but the situation turned a bit more depressing as the topic of Sasuke came up. Shikamaru and I decided it wasn't our place to bother with their team matters, so we left. I went to visit Kimimaro since I was already here in the hospital. "Izaya, what are you doing here so late?" Kimimaro asked. "Just thought I'd drop by to see how you were. Is the treatment going well?" I asked. Before Kimimaro could answer, we heard a voice from right by the door. "Of course it's going well. Who do you think is performing the treatment?" said a loud and unruly voice. I knew who it was immediately. Ahem. I didn't mean any disrespect, Lord Fifth. Ha 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 ha. Of course I know that. I was just teasing you. Anyways, I came here to start Kimimaro's evening treatment since Naruto seems to be doing just fine. Everything's been going well, so he should be as good as new in a few months," she said. Hear that, Maro? Haku and I will be awaiting your return. As soon as you get back, we'll work on our combo technique. I've been studying hard under Hiruzen sensei. I'll show you guys what I can do when I return," Kimimaro said. "I look forward to it. I'll let you get treated now," I said as I left the hospital. As I walked outside, I stared at the setting sun. From here on out, everyone is going to be training hard. All right, I should work hard too. The days slowly passed by and weeks rolled around the corner. Those weeks turned into a few months. Kimimaro's treatment has been going well. It appears it'll only be about another month before he is fully cured and is able to join Haku and I again. Haku and I have also completed our Anbu training already. Yamato-sensei was the one to complete our induction as official Anbu under Lord Third. Every 3 days Haku and I would train with Lord Third, switching off sparring with him. We've also been on various Anbu missions along with Yamato-sensei. Today was a day we had off, so I was at the training ground wanting to perfect some of my techniques. First, I'll try piecing together the original technique I thought of when I watched Naruto and Sasuke battle it out on the roof of the hospital. It happened after Sasuke used his fire-style jutsu and Naruto used his Rasengan's powerful spinning motion to keep the flames from reaching him. Then I thought about how Sasuke used the Chidori, which was essentially lightning nature infused on his palms, to increase his piercing and cutting power. When the light of the sun hit me, I was instantly inspired. I wanted to add all of that together, so I understood that this was a huge project, but one that I was determined to succeed in, and I already had a mental image of what I imagined the technique to turn out as. A special technique that belonged to me. If I incorporate both the principles of the Rasengan and Chidori, then I could come up with something extraordinary. I wanted to combine the power of Rasengan with my different elemental natures. Something even more powerful than Naruto's Rasen Shuriken. I'll call it Taiyugen, meaning Sun Sphere. I placed my hand out in front of me as I prepared to test out my new technique. First, bring chakra into my hand. Release the chakra in my hand at a steady stream. Contain the chakra. Spin the chakra. Alright, first part is over. Next, infuse wind nature into my hand. Shape it into a sphere as it spins. Good. Now, release fire nature into the center of my palm. Reduce its size and have it spin at a constant velocity. Perfect. Beads of sweat began rolling down the side of my forehead at this moment as I took a few heavy breaths trying to concentrate. The wind sphere is steady. The flame is getting out of control by the wind. Before I could continue, the flame and the wind started to get chaotic in my hand, so I instantly cancelled the technique. I attempted this for a few more hours. Phew. No good, huh? Maybe I should infuse water first. Right, if I infuse water first, the wind won't agitate the flame. What I need is to ensure I increase the temperature of the fire. If I spin the flame at high velocities with my chakra, it'll heat up the water, creating the desired effect I want. That sounds good. Just as I started up my technique again, a voice spoke out behind me. What are you doing? Ah! I shouted as I was startled. The sphere of wind containing a dense volume of chakra, water, and fire flew out of my hand at that moment. Shit! I yelled. I quickly turned behind me and without looking at who snuck up on me, I jumped at the person and grabbed them before immediately activating the Flying Thunder God Jutsu. We instantly disappeared from the training ground I was at and reappeared just outside the entrance to the training grounds. A couple seconds later, a loud boom was heard as a plume of dust and smoke rose into the air. Phew! I breathed out a sigh of relief. That was super dangerous, losing control of the technique like that. Can you get off me now? The voice said. I looked down. Hanabi, I said as I got off of her. I extended my hand to help her off the ground. Why'd you attack me like that? And how'd we get over here? She asked. I think I should be the one asking what you were doing sneaking up behind me, I said. But to answer your question anyways, I was training. I was attempting a new jutsu of mine when you startled me and I lost control. It was an extremely powerful and dangerous technique, so without thinking I grabbed you and got us out of the explosion range before we could get hurt. Oh, sorry. Ha, I guess I owe you a thanks then, she said. I just stood there as I stared at her. She just stared back. We stared at each other for a few more moments before I thought to myself, is she going to answer my question or not? So why were you sneaking up behind me? I asked with a nice curious tone in hopes she wouldn't just walk away without answering. I came to train, but I felt a strong flow of chakra coming from somewhere, so I went to go see what it was. When I got to the source I saw you, so I thought I'd ask if you felt it too, she said with a straight face. Wow. She's got a good poker face. She could probably convince almost everyone else but me. She was obviously looking for me, but the question is why? Training. I thought the Hyuga clan had their own private training grounds, I said teasingly. We can decide to train outside our private training grounds sometimes as well. My cousin Neji does all the time. And so does my sister Hinata, she argued back. I put my hands up by my chest in a defensive manner and said, I didn't mean to imply anything. Nothing wrong with you training here. I was just a bit surprised. Well, I should probably take a break from training anyways. I looked up at the sky and saw that the sun was starting to set. Looks like it's about dinner time. I think I'll go for some ramen tonight. I'll leave you to your training then, I said as I prepared to head out. Wait, she said quickly. I paused. Did you need something else? I asked. I was also done training. That's why I went to go check out that source of energy I felt. I'm hungry now too. As it so happens, I also feel like eating ramen. Since we're both headed to eat ramen anyways, we should just go together. Besides, two's a company, she said with a proud look on her face. I took a good look and didn't notice any evidence of her having done any sort of training yet. I inwardly shook my head and was about to answer her when we both heard someone shout, "Big brother!" Hey! Haku! I turned around to look at the sound of the voice. Haku arrived a moment later and said, "Big brother, I heard a loud explosion and thought that it was probably due to your dangerous technique you've been trying out. I came over to see if you were okay." He shifted his head to the side as he noticed Hanabi standing behind me. "Hey! Isn't this the person who bumped into you that one day?" Haku said. "HMPF. Three's a crowd." Hanabi pouted and mumbled to herself. Haku just shrugged his shoulders and said, "You haven't eaten yet, right? If you're done training, then shall we go grab some food?" I nodded my head and said, "Okay, I was thinking about some ramen." "Want to join us?" I said. "Eh? What do you mean by us, big brother?" Haku asked. I shifted my stance so Hanabi wasn't behind me anymore and said, "Well, I was going to get some ramen and coincidentally Hanabi said she wanted some too. We were about to go together." It's okay. You don't have to join us. I'm sure you probably didn't feel like eating ramen anyways, right?" Hanabi said with an innocent expression. I just sighed inwardly. Surely Haku won't fall for her ploy, right? I thought to myself. Haku pouted and said, "Of course I like ramen. In fact, I was going to suggest eating ramen with my big brother. You don't have to come with us. It was nice meeting you." "Hey! When did I say I wasn't going?" Hanabi retorted. And when did I say that I didn't feel like eating ramen? Haku replied. I just stood to the side as I was completely forgotten at this moment. Maybe I'll just eat at home, I whispered to myself. What? Hanabi and Haku said at the same time as they turned to look at me. Ahem. I was just wondering if you both are ready. If so, shall we all go get some ramen? My treat. Promise. I said helplessly. I sighed to myself as I pondered how I got stuck in this situation. We ordered our ramen from Ishiraku's as Haku sat to my left and Hanabi to my right. So big brother, how about we go shop for some ninja tools after? Oh, Hanabi probably wouldn't want to go with us after, right? Sorry about that. Haku said with an undertone. HMPF. I know the shop owner. With me around you can get the best deals. I am after all the next in line as head of the Hyuga clan. Oh, but after weapon shopping we should go get some flowers. I hear that your teammate Kimimaro is in the hospital, right, Izaya? Well, Haku probably doesn't know much about flowers, so it's okay if you don't join us. Hanabi replied proudly with hidden meaning. Ha! I'm an expert when it comes to medicinal plants. Naturally, I also have extensive knowledge on flowers. Big brother and I can pick flowers ourselves. No need for you to go through the trouble. Maro is our teammate after all. Haku retorted, not giving up. Before anyone could say anything else, our ramen was placed in front of us. Finally, I said. Both Haku and Hanabi just stared daggers at me. Ahem ahem. I mean, finally our bowl of ramen is served. 'Cause, you know, I was hungry and all. I said helplessly. Then, would you like some of mine? This is a lot, so I don't mind sharing some with you, Izaya-kun. Hanabi said amiably. I think big brother would rather have mine. We are sworn brothers after all. No need for the next head of the Hyuga clan to go out of her way for something like this. Haku said innocently. Enough. I stood up from my spot and walked over to a table that was set up outside the stands. You two. Come here and bring your bowls with. I commanded. They silently and obediently walked over. Sit. I said. They both sat and placed their bowls down. You two are going to eat right here. Now think about what you did wrong. I said as I went back to the stand and sat in the booth eating my ramen in peace and quiet. Haku and Hanabi just sat in silence for a good minute before they looked at each other. I think big brother is mad. He's never yelled at me like that before. Haku said dejectedly. Hanabi silently nodded and whispered, he's kind of scary when he's angry. Did we make him mad? MN. I think so. Haku replied. Did we do something wrong? Hanabi asked. I'm not sure. Haku responded. But aren't you guys sworn brothers? You should know this stuff. Hanabi said. HMPF. Why were you with big brother anyways? You've only met once. Not true. Today makes it twice. She replied. How does that make any difference? Haku said. Heh, once is chance, twice is fate. She said with a smirk. You still haven't answered my previous question. Haku replied as he finally started eating his bowl of ramen. Well, to be honest, I was just curious. Your big brother is one of the only people who my cousin Neji has ever openly acknowledged as being stronger than himself. He has a look of respect whenever I ask him about Izaya. I just wanted to know what kind of person he was. Hanabi replied before she too started to eat her bowl of ramen. Haku looked up and said, "Everyone should respect my big brother. He's the best person in the entire world. The only reason you looked for Big Brother was to find out what kind of person he was though. MN. I wanted to know how he lived life. You see, originally my elder sister Hinata was supposed to be the head of the Hyuga clan. And Neji, well, our clan has strict rules and it seems like everyone in the clan has their own role to play, but my sister Hinata and Neji have decided to forge their own fate. Neji's view on life seemed to change after fighting against Naruto, and other than him, Izaya is the only other person he spoke so highly of. That's why I wanted to know what kind of person Izaya is. I too wish to take fate into my own hands." Hanabi replied. Haku stared her in the eyes for a good second, confirming that it was the truth before he smiled and said, "MN, I believe you. Then, would you like me to tell you how great my big brother is?" I mean, yes. Please do. Hanbi said. After spending a good amount of time eating my dinner, I finally finished and turned to look over to where Haku and Hanabi were sitting with a stunned expression. What the hell? Why do they look like such good friends all of a sudden? I whispered to myself as I watched them talking and laughing with smiles. I shook my head and walked over to them. "Well, I'm glad you two are getting along now. It's pretty late already, so I think I'll just go home today," I said as I studied their faces, trying to glean some sort of hint as to how they reconciled. "MN. That's probably a good idea," Hanabi said, and Haku nodded in agreement. "Then, allow us to walk you back to the Hyuga residence," I said. "MN." Hanabi nodded in consent. After dropping Hanabi off, I turned to Haku and said, "What were you two talking about that made you both laugh and smile so much?" "Ha ha, it was nothing, big brother," Haku replied sheepishly. "Let's go home." I shrugged my shoulders and said, "Whatever you say." I turned around and began the trek back home. "Hey, you really aren't going to keep asking me about it?" Haku said as he followed me back. "Why? Do you want me to ask?" I replied. "Yes," Haku said. "Then are you going to tell me about what you both talked about?" "No." I face-palmed. "Then why should I ask?" "Because when I want to know what you're thinking and ask about it, you never give me a serious answer," Haku said matter-of-factly. "So this is revenge of sorts?" I replied. "Maybe," he said. "Ha ha ha. I can't win against you, Haku." Our banter continued all the way back home. Just as I entered my room, there was a knock on my window. As I opened it, there was a bird with a letter attached. "Hiruzen-sensei," I said as I recognized it as his messenger bird. After reading the letter, I furrowed my brow for a moment before laying down on my bed and destroying it. A 3-year Anbu mission, huh? Seems Lord Third also wants Kimimro to serve as an Anbu for a time. After Kimimro recovers in a month and completes his Anbu training, Kimimro, Haku, and I will leave. I closed my eyes and soon, sleep overtook me. Boom. Splash. Thud 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 thud. Huff, 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 huff. A lone Anbu stood in the middle of a giant lake as he pulled a kunai out from his left leg. "Ah!" he groaned. Blood seeped down from the side of his face and leg. As he stood there trying to catch his breath, he took a look around the lake. Floating above the water were more than 20 dead bodies. He weaved his hands together to form some hand signs, causing his hands to light up in a light green color. Using his medical ninjutsu, he worked to heal his wounded leg. Ghost and Reaper are gonna be mad when they see the state that I'm in, he said. This Anbu who killed more than 20 enemy shinobi was exactly Silent Mist. Right after Kimimaro had been cured of his disease, he began training rigorously. He completed his Anbu training not long after his release from the hospital and was named Reaper. After training with Lord Third for 3 months, he joined Izaya and I on a 3-year-long Anbu mission to gather intel on various criminal organizations, even to dispose of some. Of course, one of the highest priorities of criminal organizations on that list was the Akatsuki. However, they were truly a difficult organization to track. We've been away from the village on our mission for 2 years already, and the organization we were tracking was called the Bloodwater Organization. We tracked the organization to its headquarters, which was situated in the land of water. Silent Mist contemplated to himself as he healed his wound. I'm supposed to meet Ghost and Reaper at our designated rendezvous point. I still have a few hours before the time limit. These guys were more careful than they let on. At least I was able to get what I came for. Silent Mist whispered to himself as he looked at the scroll in his hand. He put it away and was just about to leave when he heard a voice say, "Water-style Great Waterfall Jutsu." "Ah!" Silent Mist exclaimed as a giant torrent of incredibly powerful water approached to engulf him. He quickly placed his hands in front of him and said, "Ice-style Ice Barrier Domed Jutsu." He quickly encapsulated himself in a dome of ice as the vortex of water engulfed him and attempted to crush him. Crap! I've already wasted so much chakra when I fought against my pursuers. Whoever this person is, they're much stronger than the guys from earlier. I don't have enough chakra right now to fight him. Best use this chance to escape, Silent Mist quickly thought. He placed his hands on the bottom of the ice dome and activated his ice style to form a sharp spear thrusting through the bottom of the water vortex and successfully slipping out of its torrential grasp into the lake below. He quickly swam downwards in a dark place of the lake to hide. Just as he was about to activate an ability to help him breathe underwater, he saw the dark part of the water become even darker. Greatly alarmed, he used his ice dome jutsu once more to cover himself. Just as the dome of ice covered his body, a giant maw opened up and swallowed him. Up on the surface of the lake stood a man with half his face covered. He wielded a giant sword known as the Kurakiri Bocho, or otherwise known as the Executioner's Blade. This was Momokai's abuser. He watched as his jutsu engulfed the person he was hired to kill. To his surprise, however, when the jutsu dissipated, the person was nowhere to be found. HMPF. Sneaky. He escaped, Zabuza said indifferently. He looked around and saw the many dead bodies that were killed by that person. I can see why I was hired, whoever that was. They were highly skilled to kill this many rogue shinobi. Zabuza mumbled as he walked off. After an hour of observing the inside of the mouth from whatever ate him, Silent Mist took out a long needle and infused it with his chakra. He had somehow managed not to get swallowed down to the stomach and clung to the side of this thing's lower jaw. He was able to discern some of the properties of this animal and found where its gag reflex was. Silent Mist took his chakra-enhanced needle and threw it towards the animal's gag reflex. Soon, a loud rumbling sound was heard, and before he knew it, he was spit out from this beast's mouth along with its lunch. "Ah!" Silent Mist moaned. Strangely, he found himself within a giant underwater palace. Quickly he weaved his hands to form the snake sign, causing a bubble of water to appear around his head. Phew! He breathed out a sigh of relief. Ah! Silent Mist finally took notice of the great beast in front of him. It was at least 40 meters in length. A giant catfish! He exclaimed. The catfish just stared back at him before a loud, powerful voice said, "You human brat! What is your name?" My name is Haku." Haku responded as he removed his Anbu mask. The catfish talked. Haku mentally screamed. "Ha ha ha ha! Kid, I'm impressed. Nothing has ever escaped from the clutches of my jaws before. You are the first. So your name is Haku. Good name. You may call me Namaju." It then spread out its fins and caused the water in the surrounding palace hall to drain out. Haku just fell to the ground as the water he was suspended in disappeared. "Excuse me, Sir Namaju, but can you tell me where this is?" Haku inquired. It took one long look at Haku with its giant yellow eyes before saying, "This place is known as Ryugajo Palace." Haku just continued to stare blankly with confusion. "I still don't understand. Where is Ryugajo Palace? And what is it?" Haku asked. Namaju just laughed loudly and said, "Ha ha ha. Kid, it's no wonder you haven't heard of it. No human has ever set foot in this place before. Have you ever heard of a place called Mount Myoboku? Or perhaps the Shikotsu Forest? Maybe you've heard of the Ryuchi Cave. Big Brother has mentioned those to me before. Mount Myoboku is the place where the ancient toads reside. Shikotsu Forest is the place where the Great Slug lives, and Ryuchi Cave is the place of the Great Snakes. Supposedly they are legendary places and unexplored sage regions. Mn. So I see you've heard of these places. You aren't wrong describing those three places like that. However, this place is Ryugajo Palace. It is even more legendary than those three places. Here the ruler is the great ocean dragon sage. I am one of the three great guardians of Ryugajo Palace." Haku was incredibly stunned. He never imagined that being swallowed by a catfish would ever bring him to a place like this. In fact, he never imagined that he would ever be swallowed by a catfish. After coming to terms with his situation, he said, "Sir Namaju, is it possible to leave this place?" "Oh. You've come to such a prestigious place yet you wish to leave? Well, I suppose you didn't come of your own free will. It can't be helped. Kid, our meeting can be a sort of fate. Since you've literally successfully escaped from the jaws of death, let me grant you a recompense," Namaju said as it opened its giant maw. His tongue rolled out of its mouth as it laid down a large scroll in front of Haku. "Open the scroll and sign your name with your blood on it." "All right, but what is this for?" Haku inquired. "Ha ha ha ha. Well, I haven't met many humans in my life, and all the ones I did meet ended up becoming food. You, however, are quite amiable. I don't mind lending you a hand every now and then. By signing your name in blood on this scroll, you would have formed a contract with the three great guardians of the Ryugajo Palace. By utilizing the summoning jutsu, you can summon us to help aid you in difficult situations. We've stayed away from worldly affairs for so long that we guardians are pretty bored now. That old sage just sleeps all day and we've nothing to do. I'm sure you can show us some pretty interesting things outside. After you sign the contract, I'll help bring you out. By the way, although I am very old, you can drop the sir. I don't care for such formalities," Namaju replied. Haku smiled and said, "Mn. Then can I call you Maju?" "Whatever floats your boat, kid. By the way, I'm sticking to calling you kid. Call me Maju or whatever you like. He replied as he watched Haku form the contract. MN. The contract is done. Maju said as he closed the scroll and swallowed it again. Okay kid, jump in my mouth and I'll take you out. All right. Haku skeptically nodded and hopped in Maju's giant maw. He didn't really seem to have a choice anyways. It was only about a minute or so before Maju opened his mouth again, letting Haku see the light of day. That was fast. Haku commented. Of course, who do you think I am? Maju replied. Haku jumped out of Maju's mouth and back onto the giant lake before bowing respectfully and said, Thank you Maju. Although you were the one who swallowed me, you also allowed me to see a wonderful place and benefit from this encounter. MN. Don't forget to call us out when you need help. I'll tell the other two about you when I get back. I'm sure they're itching to get a good look outside. Take care kid. Maju said as he sunk back down into the deep recesses of the water. Phew. Haku breathed out a sigh of relief. I should quickly head to the rendezvous point. Unexpectedly I came out of that situation with gains instead of losses and it didn't waste too much time. He put his Anbu mask back on and made his way over to the meetup location. Do you think Silent Mist is okay? Reaper asked. MN, he still has a few hours left before the deadline of our meetup. If he isn't back by then I'll just fly to his location. I replied. Fwish. A figure landed on a nearby tree before dropping down to the ground. Ghost, Reaper, I'm back. Silent Mist said. Reaper and I just looked at Silent Mist's tattered form before rushing over to him. Oi! Are you all right? What happened? I asked with concern. Are you seriously injured? Reaper asked. I'm fine, I'm fine. I got what we came for. I just met a bit of resistance before making it back. There were 20 rogue shinobi waiting in ambush, but I disposed of them so there's no need to worry. There was one really strong person who showed up after but I didn't get a good look at them. I managed to escape and was swallowed by a giant catfish. It brought me to a place called Ryugajo Palace. After talking things through we ended up forming a contract and it brought me out of that place. Then I ended up here. Silent Mist said, recalling the events up to now. Phew. Reaper and I sighed in relief. Glad you're okay, Silent Mist. But what's this Ryugajo place? I asked curiously. Well, according to Maju, one of the 3 guardians of the place, it is a legendary location of an unexplored sage land like Mount Myoboku. He replied. A legendary location like Mount Myoboku? I exclaimed in shock. What the hell is that place? There wasn't a place like that to my knowledge in my past life. Was there really other legendary places aside from the land of toads, snakes, and slugs? I mentally questioned. We should find a place to let Silent Mist rest more comfortably. Reaper suggested. MN. I've already prepared a place. I said as I placed my hands on both Reaper and Silent Mist's shoulders. Flying Thunder God Jutsu. We disappeared with no one the wiser and ended up in a room. Where are we, Ghost? Reaper asked. I took off my mask and said, I rented this room yesterday just in case for situations like these. We have it for a week. There are 2 bunk beds so it'll definitely be enough for the 3 of us. Haku, you get some rest first. I'll take the scroll to the drop-off point. Kimimaro and Haku took off their masks as Haku handed the scroll to me. All right then, big brother, be careful in case of anything unexpected happening. Haku said. Are you sure you don't need me to come with? Kimimro asked. I shook my head. No, I'm going to teleport to a location nearby and then make the rest of the way over by foot. It'll be faster and more inconspicuous with just me. Once I hand over the scroll to Lord Third's agents and receive our next task, I'll head back immediately. I'm not sure whether or not Lord Third's agents will be late or early, so give me a week's time before you guys decide that something might be wrong. MN. Safe travels. Haku and Kimimro said. I nodded my head and placed my mask back on before I disappeared. Swish. I dashed through the forest towards a remote shrine that was designated as the meeting spot. It took me about an hour to get close from my initial transfer point, however, as I neared the shrine I noticed something off. I stopped a few miles away on a branch in the forest as I closed my eyes to focus on what the situation was. Why are there 3 signatures? Lord Third only sends 2 people as agents at a time, never more, never less. Something is wrong. It's a good thing I decided to place my marker away from the meeting point like I always do, just for cases like these. As I continued to focus, the situation seemed graver and graver. The 2 familiar signatures that usually come as Lord Third's agents, Bird and Hawk, are trapped in the basement below the shrine. Their chakra signature is in disarray. Genjutsu maybe. There's one person watching over them, one person outside the shrine in the shadows, and one person waiting in front of the shrine. This chakra signature. It's Danza. Don't tell me he's here for me. Shit, what if he wants me for my wood style? Did Orochimaru tell him about my wood style? I can't meet him by myself in case he decides to cast Shisei's Kotomatsu Kami on me. His 2 guards must be Yamane Kafu and Aburam Torun. What to do, I'll have Kimimro deliver the contents. I'll mark Kimimro with my Flying Thunder God seal, and if Danza casts Shisei's Genjutsu on him, I can fly to him instantly and release the Genjutsu. Trying to play me? I don't think so, Danza. I placed a few of my special kunai in this area before teleporting back to the room with Haku and Kimimro. Kimimro was just about to head out the door when he saw me appear right in front of him. He shouted as he fell backwards from shock. I quickly extended my hand out to grab him and prevent him from falling. Izaya. That was fast. He said. Maro, what's wrong? Haku said as he slowly rubbed his eyes and sat up in bed. Sorry Haku, I didn't mean to wake you. Kimimro said. Haku shook his head and said, it's okay, did you need something? Big brother. You're back already? Actually there's a bit of a problem. When I was getting near the meetup point I noticed something off. It seems the 2 agents, Bird and Hawk, are currently incapacitated. The one behind this is Danza. I'm guessing he finally couldn't wait any longer and might be aiming for me and my wood style. I said as I told them what I suspected. TSK. Damn Danza. Always doing things by himself without regard for other people's livelihood. Haku cursed. I'll be right back, I need to prepare something quick. I said as I disappeared. Not long after I reappeared in the room. I turned to Haku and said, Haku, I want you to continue resting here. You just came back from a big battle not long ago. I already have a plan, so let Kimimro and I handle this. Danza may be a crafty old bastard, but I won't let him pull one over on me. Not a lot of people are aware of his abilities. I'm an exception. We'll go meet him and foil his plans and save Lord Third's agents while we're at it. Haku was silent for a moment but ultimately agreed. All right, since you're taking Morrow then it should be fine. Come back immediately if things go south. Haku said. You got it, Chief. I replied jokingly. Ready, Morrow? I said. Amen. He nodded. I placed my hand on his shoulder and we disappeared from the room. Be careful. Haku whispered to himself. We arrived a few miles away from the shrine where I placed one of my special kunais. After taking a moment to confirm that the situation didn't change since I was last there, I turned to Kimimro and said, All right, Morrow, here's the plan. I'm going to mark your body with my flying thunder god seal and I want you to use the transformation jutsu to look like me. If Danza really is after me then he'll probably try to recruit me into Root, which is his Anbu division that's supposed to be disbanded by now. I'm sure you all know how to handle that situation. When he gets refused there's a possibility that he'll use a powerful genjutsu known as Kotomatsu Kami. It'll have the ability to influence your thoughts and choices without your knowledge. I'll monitor your situation with my senses and Sharingan. If he does use it I'll know right away and fly to your side dispelling the genjutsu. You take that chance to enter the shrine and save Bird and Hawk. There's one person guarding them. My guess is that the one guarding them is Yamane Kafu. He is a sensor-type shinobi, but obviously not as good as me. Seems he hasn't noticed our presence yet. Probably can't sense us this far away or he isn't actively searching and we've never formally met, so I don't think he'll be able to tell whether you are me or not. I'll hide myself from his detection when we get closer. Don't let him take control of your mind when you confront him. I'll hold off Danza and his extra guard in the shadows. Once you have the agents immediately escape. The farther you go the better. That'll let me teleport to you and then teleport all of us to safety before Danza and his guards can catch up. All right. What if he doesn't use Kotomatsu Kami? Kimimro asked. Here. Take this. I said as I gave him a scroll. This is a fake. If he isn't after me and is actually after the scroll we obtained then just give it to him and leave. We'll come up with a plan after. Although it might be possible that he's after both. When he asks for the scroll, get as close to him as possible and try to stay as close to him as possible. Amen. Then I'll head over. Kimimro replied as he activated the transformation jutsu. Swish. Amen. Danza turned to look at Kimimro who was transformed as me appear. He transformed himself as one of the messengers Kimimro mentally noted as he looked at Danza. Oh. Fair weather today, fellow traveler. Might you have spare change as a donation to the shrine? Danza said. HMPF. He's even using our secret greeting. Probably got all the info from the two messengers he put under genjutsu, Kimimro noted. Change. I've only enough for food and water. I can only offer my prayers and blessings. Kimimro replied. I'm glad you made it. Where are the other two? Danza said as he confirmed the password and continued to play the part of a messenger. It's just me today. We're stationed too far, it's inconvenient for all of us to come. Where's your partner? Kimimro inquired. He's hidden in the shadows for safety measures. Do you have the scroll? Danza replied. Amen. Here it is. Kimimro said as he walked closer and handed over the fake one. Amen, I appreciate it. Has anyone ever told you that you're a pretty talented shinobi and Anbu? There's a person in our village called Danza. He's looking to recruit some talented individuals like yourself. Interested? Danza said. He really is looking to recruit Izaya, Kimimro thought to himself. Actually I think that sounds like a pretty good opportunity. How do I get in touch with Danza? Kimimro replied. Damn, he really did it. He was actually aiming for me and cast Koto Matsukami on Maro. That bastard, I'll make him pay. I marked the tree I was standing on with my flying thunder god seal, and before Danza could react or do anything else, I infused my right hand with a medical ninjutsu technique I learnt as an Anbu, appeared in between him and Kimimro, and struck at Danza's right eye, tearing through the fabric that covered it and stole Shisui's Sharingan from him. Ah! He screamed. I then placed my hand on Kimimro's shoulder saying, release. Ah! Kimimro snapped out of his daze. Go! I shouted. Kimimro instantly dashed inside the shrine. I then flew to the tree I marked earlier and put Shisui's eye in a special container I prepared earlier and teleported it away. You bastard! Danza shouted as he clutched his eye. Torun also appeared next to Danza in that instant. Boom! Torun and Danza quickly jumped off to the side to avoid being hit by what seemed to be large protrusions of bones from the shrine. Kimimro quickly grabbed the two agents and dashed off as the guard Fu was unconscious, impaled, and stuck to the ground by a large bone spike. Fu! Torun shouted in alarm at this unexpected turn of events. I stood on the tree branch and stared at them. Danza, oh Danza! I'm afraid activating Izanagi right now won't help you restore Shisui's eye to you. If only you had activated Izanagi the moment we arrived, then you might have had a chance to turn this reality into nothing but an illusion. Unfortunately you didn't. You thought you could play me. Think again. Ah! You bastard! I am one of the elders of the Hidden Leaf. You dare attack me? That is an act of betrayal. Danza shouted. Spare me your nonsense. Although you think you have the leaf in your mind for every action you take, what you truly are is a scared little pretentious cat who thinks that you're the only one who cares for the hidden leaf. Suspicious of everything and everyone who isn't under your orders. What's more laughable is that you think that only your actions are the correct actions. You're a sorry excuse as one of the so-called leaders of the hidden leaf. More like a leech that's draining the leaf of its life. I berated Danza. Danza was extremely surprised at everything I said up until now. How did you know about Uchiha Shisui and that I possess his eye? It also seems that you know of its power since you elected to steal it. You even know of the power of Izanagi. Who are you really? Danza asked cautiously and angrily. I'm an Anbu Underlord III. I specialize in assassination, information gathering, and interrogation. How can I not know? Root has been disbanded, yet here you are still trying to secretly control the organization. The truth is that you are just a power-hungry old man and an incredibly stubborn control freak. I won't kill you because you aren't worth shit in my eyes. Someone else has your name on their hit list. They'll come after you eventually, so you best prepare yourself for the day of your judgment. Shimura Danza, I said condescendingly as I looked down at them. Torun, help me kill him. I must reclaim Shisui's eye. Danza said. Yes, Lord Danza. Torun said as he took off his gloves. Heh. I smirked as I disappeared in an instant. Nuu! Danza screamed. Hey! What's this? Haku said to himself as he picked up a special liquid container with a Sharingan inside. Did Big Brother send this here? Haku placed it over on a table as he continued to wait for Kimimro and Izaya's return. Fwish! I appeared next to Kimimro, who had already run away quite far and was waiting in a clearing of the forest. Izaya! Kimimro said as he noticed me appear next to him in a flash. MN. Let's keep our masks on and use our code names again. I'm going to release these two from the genjutsu they're in. I said. All right. He nodded. I placed my hands on both of the agent's shoulders and said, release. Bird and Hawk said as they regained consciousness. Bird, Hawk, are you both all right? Kimimro asked. I think so. We were attacked and restrained. Bird replied. It was Danza. Hawk said. MN. We know. They cast genjutsu on you both and Fu extracted the information they needed from you both. I'm afraid it's too dangerous to hand over our mission item to you guys. For now we'll hold on to it and deliver it at a later date. I told them. That sounds like a good plan. We have to return and let Lord Third know of what happened here today. Hawk said. MN. We'll be counting on you both to do that. I'll send you both as close as I can with my jutsu. Although it'll take up a lot of chakra to send you both that far, it can't be helped. The situation is special. Before I do that, was there anything Lord Third wanted you both to pass on to us? I said. There was something. We did have your next mission scheduled, but Danza has that information now as well. It isn't ideal to have you take on this next mission, therefore, continue your other objectives such as gathering intel until further notice. When we return to the Leaf to inform Lord Third, he'll decide how to proceed from there. The last piece of information we were told to deliver to you was that Gaara, the fifth Kazekage, was abducted by the Akatsuki. They successfully extracted the One-Tails, Shukaku. An elder of the Hidden Sand used a forbidden technique to save the Kazekage's life after the extraction. Bird said. What? Kimimro and I said at the same time. Was it that time already? I suppose it has been 2 years. Although I know the future, I don't know the exact dates that events happen, I only know when they generally happen. Since I wasn't in the village, I couldn't help. Damn. I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing. I had already sent some info to Lord Third over these past 2 years to be mindful of the Akatsuki's moves on the One-Tails. Some events are still happening as they did, and some events are now completely foreign to me. The fact that Danza has his eyes set on me now and that I stole Shai Sui's eye from him means he'll send his root members to kill me. This is a mess, I thought to myself. I let out a sigh before saying, I see. Is there anything else? Bird and Hawk shook their heads. Very well then, I'll send you both off. Be careful though. Danza probably has Root Division members monitoring the situation in and around the Hidden Leaf from the shadows. MN. Thank you, Ghost. You too, Reaper. Bird and Hawk said. I placed my hands on their shoulders and sent them off. I groaned as I tipped over, losing my balance. Kimimro caught me and helped me steady my footing. Sending them both from the land of water to the land of fire sure takes a lot of chakra. Reaper, I saved just enough chakra to send us both back to Silent Mist. Once I do, I'll probably lose consciousness. I'll be counting on you and Silent Mist if anything unexpected happens. I said out of breath. MN. Don't worry about anything. We'll handle it. Kimimro said. I nodded my head as we disappeared in the next moment. Chapter 29. The wind howled through a dark and winding cave as water dripped from the stalactites on the ceiling. 3 figures stood around a mutilated body in deep contemplation. "What do you think, Reaper?" Silent Mist asked. Same as the other 4. The lacerations and depth of the strikes suggest it was done by the same perpetrator. Reaper replied indifferently. "Are you two thinking what I'm thinking?" I said to Reaper and Silent Mist. "MN." They both nodded. "Most likely, it was done by Sujobo," Reaper replied. "So, the great ancient Tengu Sujobo decided to kill the other 4 ancient Tengus. Why would he?" Silent Mist inquired. "Not sure. He has the greatest bounty on his head, so he's definitely the most dangerous of the ancient Tengu. Well, I suppose he's the only ancient Tengu left alive now. Perhaps he was driven mad, or perhaps these 4 offended him somehow. We don't know what the nature of the relationship between these 5 Tengus were. When we scoped out the area ruled by the Tengu Sujobo, there wasn't any traces of him living there for the past 5 years. Judging from this body, he probably died a year or 2 ago. Otherized. There's nothing else we can glean from the body. Shall we destroy it like the others?" Reaper asked. "MN. I'll get rid of it. We'll head to the new meeting point that Lord Third designated for his agents," I replied. "Okay, we'll be right outside the cave," Silent Mist and Reaper said. I nodded as they left the cave. I shifted my mask to expose my right Sharingan as it slowly transformed from the standard 3 Tomo pattern to a dark black swirl with 6 Tomo in the surroundings. Mangekyou Sharingan. Amaterasu. Scorching black flames completely incinerated the dead Tengu's body in a few seconds before disappearing into the void, leaving no evidence of any sorts. The Mangekyou returned to that of the standard pattern as I covered my right eye with my mask once more. I took one final sweep, making sure nothing was missed before walking out of the cave to join Silent Mist and Reaper. "Ghost, seems like the situation has changed a bit," Silent Mist said as he handed me a note. "Oh. Did Lord Third send a special messenger hawk?" I said as I took the note. "Lord Third has asked us to head to Tenchi Bridge instead of the meeting point to observe. We are to return to the village afterwards. Apparently when the Kazekage was kidnapped, Sakura fought against a member known as Sasori. Sasori ended up telling them that he had a spy by Orochimaru's side and that they were supposed to meet up. Since this was the case, Konoha managed to convince the Sand Village not to reveal the truth about Sasori's death until after the meet. Lord Fifth sent Yamato-sensei along with Sakura, Naruto, and a new member called Sai. Silent Mist said. "Eh?" I exclaimed in my head. If I recall from my past, the meetup was supposed to happen soon after they rescued Gaara. Why is it happening so late this time? Did Sasori change the date to meet Kabuto, or was it because the capture of Gaara happened a bit earlier than it did in the past? It's already been a few months after Gaara's capture. So, it indeed seems like the events I know of are slightly changing. After reading the note, I nodded my head in acknowledgement of the new order before destroying the message and said, "All right, let's go. We have 4 days to get there. We can make it in 3 if we leave now." "MN." Silent Mist and Reaper said as we dashed off towards the village hidden in the grass where the Tenchi Bridge was located. Fwish fwish fwish. For the past couple days 3 figures dashed through the woods at high speeds when one of them immediately came to a halt. Thud thud. Both Silent Mist and Reaper halted as well atop the trees. "What's wrong, Ghost?" Reaper asked. "You two go on ahead. There's someone I wish to speak to alone." Since I have the chance right now, I have to take it. It won't take long, I said unwaveringly. Reaper and Silent Mist looked at each other, knowing I wouldn't take no for an answer, so they both nodded their heads and dashed off. Over all the years that we've been together and all the dangerous missions we've been through, both Silent Mist and Reaper have gotten much better at handling our separation, choosing to believe in me instead of trying to stick to me. I dashed off in the direction where I sensed Itakai's chakra. I was incredibly surprised that I'd meet them randomly like this. It wasn't long before I arrived in front of both him and Kaizame. "Hey! Ha, aren't you that and you that came before us that day in the leaf? Where's your partner?" Kaizame asked curiously. Itakai was also surprised at my arrival. He furrowed his brow as he studied me for a bit and commented, "I'm impressed that you discovered us. Are you going to say that you're surveying the area again?" "No. This time was pure coincidence, however I did happen to want to have a chat with you," I replied. "Oh?" Itakai responded with surprise. "It just so happens that I wanted to have a chat with you as well. You've piqued my curiosity from our last meeting. Then it'd be best if we have this chat in private," I said. Kaizame just turned to look at Itakai, wondering what he'd decide. After a few moments Itakai said, "Kaizame, I'll be back shortly." He then turned into a flock of crows and disappeared. At that moment I also disappeared, following the direction Itakai went with my senses. HMPF. Seriously? What the hell? Kaizame just said to himself as he sat down by a tree. In a forest clearing a little ways away, a bunch of crows came together before Itakai appeared in their place. I arrived not a moment later. "What did you wish to talk about?" Itakai inquired. "Sajuke," I replied. Itakai furrowed his brow once more before saying, "Why are you so interested in talking to me about Sajuke?" he asked. "I know the truth," I said without beating around the bush. Itakai gave a shocked expression before recomposing himself and responded, "People live their lives bound by what they accept as correct and true, that is how they define reality. But what does it mean to be correct or true? Merely vague concepts, their reality may all be an illusion. The truth you think you know of may only be a mere illusion in reality." I shook my head as I said, "The truth I know of is the one that actually happened. Do not blame Lord Third for what I know, he's not to blame for how I discovered the truth about you. No one else aside from me and one other person outside the leaf knows the truth about you, Itakai," I replied. He squinted his eyes trying to understand my motives and said, "Then tell me, what do you actually know? You can blame Danza for what I know. I investigated him and discovered many things. He plotted against me and attempted to use me by casting Shisei's genjutsu on my mind. He failed and I removed Shisei's eye from Danza," I replied. "What?" This time Itakai was greatly shocked at hearing this. He couldn't help but feel his emotions stir. After all, that was the eye of his best friend and it was being abused by Danza. But did he actually find out the truth about me just because he investigated Danza? Itakai mentally questioned suspiciously. He probably won't give me a real answer, so there's no need to ask about how he truly knows about me. You mentioned that one other person outside the leaf knows the truth about me. Who is it? Itakai probed. The one you call Uchiha Madara, I replied. Itakai couldn't help but feel shocked again. How did he even know about Uchiha Madara? This put a rock in his plans. As he was contemplating, I continued on, "I understand what you are trying to do. It won't work. I know the truth about you, and I told you that you once reminded me of a painful memory I had. You wish for Sasuke to be the one to kill you and return to the leaf after he has fulfilled his purpose. However, what happens when he finds out the truth about you? It will most likely be Madara who tells him the truth. You loved your brother dearly. Did you not think he loved you just as much? Once he knows the truth, he may not return to the leaf, but instead turn against it. He may resent it for what it commanded you to do. What will you do? This time Itachi was seriously in a bind. As he didn't have the strength to kill Madara. His illness has been getting worse, and if he fought Madara he'd probably die before seeing Sasuke again. Seeming to understand the mental battle Itachi was having, I said, "Tell him the truth. Show him. Pass on your will to him. Transfer your emotions of what you feel for the village and how you lived as a shinobi. Show him your ninja way. Give him all the memories and details of your plans for him. Tell him it was Danza who gave you this order. Show him that crushing the leaf would only be a dishonor to you and destroy everything that you stood for. If he truly loves you as a brother still, then after seeing all of this and feeling what you felt, he may decide to finally come to terms with his hatred. The only things you can leave him is your will, your love, your acceptance of who he is, your memories, and your power." Itachi was momentarily stunned. He fought an internal battle with his thoughts before closing his eyes and let out a soft sigh. This was unexpected. Sasuke is still young. Can he handle such a cruel reality? Itachi whispered. That isn't for you to decide. In your last moments you need to show and pass on to him everything. If he learns of this from a third party, he'll hate everyone who caused you to suffer, because he'll think that the brother he loved so much didn't have a choice. But if you are the one to tell him, he may just come to understand your ninja way and return to Konoha. You shouldn't try to do everything yourself. There is only so much one person can do. Shisui tried to handle the Uchiha's coup d'etat himself, but Danza foiled it. He then decided that it was best to entrust his will onto you, his one and only worthy comrade. I said as I stared on at Itachi. Itachi gave it some thought before opening his eyes once more as he stared at me. Perhaps you may be right. Perhaps as his older brother I should no longer try and treat him as a child. May I at least know who you truly are? Itachi asked as he stared at me intently. I placed my hand on my Anbu mask, and as I slowly took it off I said, I am Karasuma Izaya. One of Sasuke's classmates. Itachi stared at me for a long while. For once the situation was completely out of his control. He, who was probably the current greatest genjutsu user in the world alive, who always believed he had things under control, was finally defeated. This was no genjutsu. This was not a world that he could perfectly control. There were too many anomalies and variables that even he could not foresee. He looked straight at my Sharingan for more than a minute before saying, "Are you a member of the Uchiha clan?" "No," I replied as I shook my head and put my mask back on. "I didn't think so," Itachi replied. "I didn't steal these eyes, nor did I kill anyone for them, if that's what you're wondering. In essence, when I first became conscious of the world, these eyes were already a part of me," I replied without giving a straight answer. "Orochimaru?" Itachi ventured a guess, however I didn't reply. "You said your name was Izaya, correct?" he asked rhetorically while I simply nodded. "MN. Why do you involve yourself with my brother?" Itachi asked curiously. "Because I consider him a friend. A friend who has walked down the path of an avenger." Not of his own choosing, but because he was forced to walk down this path by you. You tried to show him a path to walk. You thought what you were doing was being a loving brother. You tried to do everything and control everything on your own. You can only do so much. Why should Sasuke continue to suffer from walking down this path? I'm involving myself because I know the truth. You suffered on your own. I told you I can understand some of your pain. When I know the truth and feel your pain and suffering, how do you think Sasuke will feel when he learns of the truth from someone else other than you? He'll only continue to walk down the path of an avenger because that is the only path he would know how to walk. Before he travels further down this road of darkness to the point of no return, you should be the one to shed some light on his path. I replied. Itachi let out a soft sigh. Soon a flock of crows appeared in the space between us as one of the crows perched on my shoulders. You remind of Shisui. The mark of a true shinobi is that they do not seek in glory. They protect from the shadows. Shisui taught me that. You remind me of him a bit. Take his Sharingan from that crow's eye. I won't have need for it anymore. I've witnessed Naruto's strong will to save Sasuke. And I've now seen that you are also a splendid shinobi. After I have my battle with Sasuke, I will reveal to him the truth. Whatever happens after that, I can rest easy knowing shinobi like you and Naruto are around Sasuke. Since you've successfully freed Shisui's power from being abused by Danza, I shall entrust his remaining eye to you as well. Thank you for freeing Shisui from Danza's control. Take this, I said as I threw a special kunai to Itachi. He looked down at the kunai as he waited for my explanation. That is a special kunai of mine that is marked with my Flying Thunder God seal. I'll keep your body safe after your fight with Sasuke. This will prevent that Madara person from using your body to hold leverage over Sasuke. Itachi smirked before a bunch of crows obscured my vision. When they disappeared, Itachi was also gone. The only thing left was the crow perched on my shoulders with Shisui's Sharingan. I stood silently for a moment before using my Anbu medical ninjutsu and removed Shisui's eye from the crow, placing it in a special liquid container and storing it away. That went better than expected, I thought silently. He even decided to give me Shisui's eye. I raised my hand in the seal of confrontation, activating the Flying Thunder God, and appeared next to Silent Mist and Reaper in the next moment. That's it for this video, guys. Hope you like the video. Like, share and subscribe the channel. Also make sure you give me your recommendation in the comment section down below. Thank for watching.